Lots
I
of
go
bugs
on
in
mission
the
trips.
You do? Where do you go on mission trips to?
Mexico, Guadalajara, Zamora. Went to the mountains last year of the Huichols
Okay.
tribes,
Wow.
which is, what did you call them?
I think they're descendants of the Incan
Okay.
Indians.
So
They have
they
their
don't-
own, they have a different language. I've been very fortunate with my employment to travel and see some different cities.
Uh-huh.
And there's some that, when you're away for a week at a conference or something like that in a beautiful place and you're standing out there looking at it and go, my wife needs to be here.
We'd like to welcome you here. We call this podcast Been a While for the grain bin that you're sitting mostly under. And we spell it B-I-N, a
Yeah.
while. So the reason we do that is for those that have never been here before, we invite you to come bin a while with us. Just kind of hang out at the bin if you can. For those that have been here before, and we've had several repeats that we say, hey, been a while, welcome back. So anyway, that's what we call this, has been a while, and we have a lot of fun with it and have a lot of fun out here. And we've had probably 20 conversations that we've recorded, give or take. A little behind on editing, but we're going to get there. But through doing this, I've just heard some really cool stories of people that have stayed with us. You two are hosts. You're Boondockers hosts yourselves, hosting well over 100 families or couples or whoever. And so you know the stories that come.
It's
and
amazing.
You guys
Yeah,
have
it's wonderful.
stories. You guys have stories. And we just like to capture them. We like to hear maybe there's a something that you've done RVing that you could share with others that they might appreciate. So we'll just run with it. But first of all, I mentioned before that we've got some fruit. They're Palisade peaches. We did not grow the Palisade peaches here. They come from Palisade, Colorado. Really, really good peaches. We've got Kajari fruit, which is the orange and green. It looks kind of like a pumpkin, but it's a cross between a honeydew, Vanessa reminded me earlier, cross between a honeydew and a muskmelon. And please dive into those. And we've also got some strawberries that we picked. So the Kajari and the strawberries we grew here. But as we're talking, please jump up, grab some, dive in, have as much as you want. So
Well, I really like how you've
Somebody's
done
gotta
your corn cribs because they're great.
you like the corn cribs?
That's great. We're gonna do one when we get home.
Oh, okay.
You can fix me some.
No, that's great. I've had a
right.
couple hosts say
Definitely
that
the
same
Kajari.
thing. So,
I'll try them all.
well, Kevin, let's start with you.
Sure.
You have been RVing for years and years and years, or is it days?
Pretty much days, I think. I'm Kevin Swearingen. I'm from Ozark, Missouri. I retired from Kansas City, Kansas,
Choices.
out of the wastewater industry.
Okay.
And the last couple of years that I was there, I actually had bought a fifth wheel camper to park there to live in, while she drove back and forth a lot to help entertain our granddaughters
Okay.
down in Ozark. We still have a house and reside in Ozark.
Okay.
But our goal was to always be able to get out and do some traveling
Sure.
after I retired. So ideally, we'd like to sell our house. And we would have liked to have already had that on the market, but we were not able to get that done in time.
Sure.
And with the weather where it's at right now, we have some friends out in Oregon that we've been talking about visiting for the last 10 years. So
Yeah.
it's time to commit. We did a really brief maiden voyage up to see my mom up in Duluth, Minnesota. We spent a week up there. So we really only had one overnight stay on our way there and on our
Okay.
way back. And we enjoyed that so much. It was a Harvest Host stay.
Sure.
We enjoyed that so much that they invited us back on our way back,
Uh-huh.
and we got to visit with them again.
Nice.
And it sounds like they're going to be coming down into the Branson, Missouri area in like September, October,
Okay.
and we'll meet back up again. So that's
Great.
pretty exciting.
Yeah.
This trip is our really big, grand voyage.
Mm-hmm.
Probably going to be a 6-week, 7-week long trip, something like that.
Okay.
So,
So where are you guys from?
Ozark, Missouri.
Okay.
So you have not spent a whole lot of time backing up trailers. Is that a correct statement?
Wow, that's a fair assessment for sure.
Because you backed it in like a pro. Now you hesitated a little bit when you backed up front,
Right.
but I mean you were right on. So I thought for sure you'd been doing this for years.
At some point, I hope that you'll be able to say that. I've been doing it for years.
Yeah, no doubt. So this is really your first RV trip per se-ish?
First big trip where we're going to spend multiple overnights. And then our goal is to get out into Oregon. We have some friends that have a little hobby farm,
Mm-hmm.
and he has all the utilities that we need to hook up.
Nice.
And then we can he actually works for the county of Tillamook.
Oh, wow.
So he's like 20 minutes from Tillamook, and we'll be able to drive up and down the coast and do day trips and
And
we're
eat
g-
cheese and drink
eat ice cream.
Anyway.
Yes.
Tillamook ice cream. That's
And we'll go up into Washington. Our daughter-in-law is from Washington,
Uh-huh.
and she's give us a long list of places that we need to stop and visit.
Nice.
So
nice.
it's going to be great. I mean, we're excited.
Colleen has family up there, so we've both been up there. She goes a little more often than I do, and just beautiful. It's just beautiful up there, so.
And I hope it's the right time of year to, it'll be great.
Oh, yeah.
If you dodge the fires, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dodge the fires right now.
Yes.
So Vanessa, are you the one that talked Kevin into going, or did Kevin talk you into RVing?
A little bit of both.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm game.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Now you're thinking of selling the house, but you said earlier you don't want
Right.
it full time? Or
Ah.
did I hear you wrong?
We probably will not be full-timers until our granddaughters get too old to have any time for us.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
But we're talking about maybe buying some joint property where both of our kids could move on to it. And we have a daughter that lives in Georgia, and her husband's full-time military, and will probably retire from the military
Okay.
like in 6 years. I think he has 5 or 6 years left.
Now, you said he's Army, right?
He's Army, correct?
And
Where are they?
Fort Stewart.
Close to it?
Yes.
Mark is a retired Army, and we'll learn more about that. Army Ranger.
Right.
And so as my understanding is that if you're a Ranger, you don't mess with them. So I'm not messing with you, ever.
I'm a mellow. I've been pacified, haven't I?
Yeah, right. As much as I could.
So, Mark and Ruth, how about you guys? How long have you been RVing?
Well, we were tent campers for the longest time until we really hit our 50s.
Yeah?
And we just decided that it's too much faff and effort every time you want to go for a short trip to have to load everything into the truck, get where you're going, unload everything, set it all up. And when
Yeah.
you've got a camper, it's all just there. You just hook up and go.
Right.
So we started out, we just love going to our local state park fairly frequently. And it's great that we can just nip and go midweek when it's quiet, no one else is there.
Yes.
Quite often there's only one or two other campers there, and we love it because that one backs every campsite straight onto the lake. It's a big cypress pond, massive, and we just love kayaking. And so we've been doing that. When did we buy the camper? About just before COVID. We measure things BC and AC before COVID and after COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
Except
started.
at times, so I have to
That is
tell
our
you.
first camper. So we are still in our first camper.
Okay.
And we didn't know what we were looking for in a camper except for two things. One, we wanted something small because we were coming from a camper, so anything from a tent.
And
So
before
anything
this
was
truck,
huge.
I had a 150
Okay.
from 1996.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we needed
So
something
we
that
needed
could
something
tow
a
it.
little
Small.
And the only
yeah.
other thing we knew we needed at our age is we wanted a bed that we could walk down both sides of.
Right.
Because as you get older, you go to the bathroom more times in the night, and we did not want to be climbing over each other.
So
And
you-
all the tiny little ultralight small campers, the beds are sideways,
Right.
and
You
someone had to
crawl
climb
over
over.
somebody else.
So
So
we
you
bought that
finally found a
used.
camper with the twin bed.
Yeah, well, with one, yeah. No,
She won't let me sleep in it.
we're still happily married, even after all this time, aren't we?
We're good.
Just about.
Now, how many big trips have you guys taken?
This is our third or fourth.
This is our biggest.
This is
but
our largest.
We've done
we've been
Michigan,
mission trips to Florida. We've been to Michigan. We've been to Iowa.
and then we did Iowa was our biggest, probably.
Iowa was the furthest we went.
We're from
Okay.
Georgia, so
Okay.
yeah, because Iowa doesn't seem like a big trip sitting here when it's like.
Yeah, no, we live on the east coast of Georgia. We live about 45 miles in from Savannah. So we live on a farm
Nice.
in the middle of nowhere. And so we host boondocking because we're on a quiet road about 20 minutes from the I-95.
Oh, not bad.
And
No, from
a lot of people use
I-16, darling.
Coastal Highway 17 if they don't want to travel the interstate.
Okay.
So we're not far from there.
What do if people want to stay with you? What do they look up? What's your handle?
Beefield,
We are Beefield,
Beefield.
right? We are. We
Beefield.
were.
because we were beekeepers, we're
were
retired
beekeepers and we
beekeepers,
taught
so it was an
beekeeping.
apiary.
So
Yeah, we sold beekeeping supplies and equipment. I specialised in helping new beekeepers get started.
That's
so
awesome.
we supplied the small beekeeper, not the commercial beekeeper, because
Uh-huh.
they could probably buy it cheaper than we could.
yeah, well,
And
they buy all of our queen supplies in
Yeah.
one purchase. So
Oh yeah, I bet they
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
And we did honeybee removals. So we, if they were in a building, in a house or a business, we'd go and take them out and relocate them.
But Georgia passed a law 3 years ago that said you had to be backed and insured by an extermination company.
Well, that wasn't a problem. We could do that.
We had that, but it did away with almost everybody who did bee removal.
Oh.
It got too much for
I'm
you.
disabled, so I can't crawl around in attics and
Yeah.
walls. So
I was the one doing all the wild stuff.
when she reached her 50s, she said, "We'll stop."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's too bad.
Well, we wanted to travel more as well, so we closed the business down. And with that, COVID was all at the same time, so we shut it down with COVID because more and more places like Ag Supply and Tractor Supply were selling beekeeping equipment
Oh, true,
and
yeah.
stuff. They were selling beginners kits, so
And
our
they
business
buy-
was going down and COVID was taking
Right.
it down. So we just
Yep.
In our business, we made our profit by buying in bulk. But
Okay.
we can't compete against someone like Tractor Supply who buys
Oh my
4,000 instead
Yeah.
of 400.
Yeah.
and we didn't do it for the money. We did it because we enjoyed helping people get into beekeeping. It was more.
Right. Because when I was disabled, I was told that I could not be left alone. So I needed something that she could do from home and be close by.
Okay.
Because I'm officially his caregiver, so I
Okay.
have to be with. Now he's got Dusty, who's
Yeah.
But we
who's
didn't
his
have
service
Dusty, so-
dog, and she gives me. He listens to her more than he listens to me. When she tells him to sit down and he's had enough and to start, he does. When I do, he stubborn ranger he carries on.
Well, we're gonna talk about that because we had a chance to talk a little bit before. We're gonna ask you a little bit about however much you want to share, but I want to take off on a little bit of a tangent here. We have a friend in Colorado who's a beekeeper, and he's told us about the intelligence of bees and some
Oh,
of the
they're
things.
amazing.
So before we start, let's pick one thing because this could go the whole night because bees are so amazing.
Don't get me talking on bees.
No, I could do this. Look,
You can use
Just
bees
one
for
thing.
apologetics.
you cannot be
Yeah?
a beekeeper.
Yeah.
You cannot be a beekeeper and not believe in God.
Yeah.
Huh?
Because let's just go on the basis of evolution, all right?
Okay.
Evolution teaches us that we learn things from other people, right? Well, how does a bee learn anything from anyone else? Because a honeybee worker only lives 3 weeks, 21 to 28 days.
Wow.
Their mother never does any of the jobs. She is a female. All the bees that do collecting are females.
Uh huh.
And the drones don't do any work at all.
Yeah.
They can't
The
even
males,
feed themselves. The males have to be fed by the females.
Huh.
So you have about 15 different jobs that a bee must do, and they do all of them in their lifetime. Who teaches them?
Yeah, you have the drones that are the males. You have two castes in the females. The queen, there's one, and her job is only to go and mate and then lay eggs for the
And she
rest of her
lays
life.
up to
That's
1,200
all
eggs
she
a day.
does. And then the rest of the females are the workers.
So they do the
every
collecting and the
worker has a
harvesting.
mother who has only ever mated and laid eggs, and a father who has only ever mated and died. So all the rest of the jobs that the workers do have never been done by either of their parents.
Good grief.
So, and as you watch them, they live in a society where they have to work together.
Yeah.
No bee can live by itself. They all have to work. Even to get a comb of honey made, the bee has to, there's a guard bee that keeps intruders from out of the hive, so there's guard bees. Then there's bees that do foraging. They go out and they bring back the nectar or the pollen. The nectar is their protein. The
We said we
nectar is
wouldn't
their
do too
carbohydrate.
much.
And the pollens are
The pollen's the carbohydrate.
carbohydrate.
No, the protein.
Protein.
Yeah.
Anyway, they bring those back, but they don't feed themselves. They feed it to another bee who regurgitates it with some more enzymes before it ever gets into the cell where it's put to make it into honey. It's been through 3 bees. And all the enzymes they add is what makes honey the only food that man eats that's made by an insect. The only food
Unadulterated.
that's made
Yeah.
that never spoils.
And it never spoils.
Yeah.
They
That's
make
amazing.
honey, and in fact, when they've been in the Egyptian tombs and they have found some of these big old clay pots that they find, they have still found viable
We were only
honeycomb
supposed to
in
be
it.
doing one thing, and it was apologetics, so,
just-
it was all the different jobs in the
Right,
hive.
right, but you
Get back.
you cannot deny that there was a master planner.
Yeah.
You can't deny that it didn't happen by accident, because it was nothing learned,
Yeah.
and it's not.
They just knew.
So
We
the
haven't been able to
different
prove
jobs
genetic
that they all
knowledge.
do, let me just say some of the jobs. Apart from the guardian bees, you've got the foragers. Inside the hive, you've got the architects. So they will string together and hold on to each other to outline the comb, and then they will be the comb builders. You have the janitorial ones that will clean up and sanitize the hive. So if like a mouse gets in and dies, they cover it in propolis so that it decomposes and doesn't contaminate the hive. Then they have the nursery bees who are responsible for nurturing the eggs and sealing them. Then you have the temperature regulators who will fan it because the honey has to be down to 17% water before they'll cap it, otherwise it can ferment. So there are so many different jobs that they all know how to do. They're a colony species, yet their mother and father never did any of them. So that's why it's great for apologetics, and you can really get into that.
Yeah. No
But there
kidding.
is so much. The more you know, the more you don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And when she came from England, she had never kept bees before. But I needed something where she could stay home because they were afraid I'd burn the house down. And don't cook because you leave the stove on. Don't do certain things because you're a danger to yourself. So she's always been close by. But we used to sit on a lawn chair and watch the bees come in and out of the hive. It's just amazing
Yeah.
because you watch them and they come back in different colors. And the different colors are the different pollen they've been on. How do they find it? And how do they tell each other where it's at?
Yeah, they do that waggle dance and communicate, but
Right.
that's a whole other thing.
So beekeeping is a reformation of my belief that there's got to be a God because it doesn't work by science.
Right. Right.
And
Oh,
it kind
man.
of suited me because in England I was into all sorts of extreme sports, and beekeeping's like an extreme hobby. And then when we did the bee removals, beekeepers used to call that extreme beekeeping to do the
Oh,
removals.
okay.
So it
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, I don't do anything normal, do I?
So Kevin and Vanessa, do you have any crazy hobbies or anything like that we're boring? I mean, you look at us, it's like, yeah, we don't do any of that stuff. But
You do gardening and wildlife. That's awesome.
we do that.
We have garden.
We do have gardening, yeah, and chickens, wild chickens.
Lots
I
of
go
bugs
on
in the
mission
garden.
trips.
You do. Where do you go on mission trips to?
Mexico, Guadalajara, Zamora. Went to the mountains last year of the Huichols
Okay.
tribes,
Wow.
which is, what did you call them?
I think they're descendants of the Incan
Okay.
Indians.
So
They have
they
their own.
don't-
They have a different language than they don't use Spanish. Or,
Central America is an amazing place to go and you learn. One of the things I've learned in my lifetime, and I've been all over the world, is that Americans don't appreciate what they have.
No. But
And when you go and see how other people live and how other people have developed, we are one of the most blessed places on the planet.
We are.
We are the richest nation in the world, and we have it beyond understanding.
Yes.
And if you don't travel the world, and mission trips are a great way to do it. We've done mission trips helping hurricane victims recover. And it's just, you don't know what you have until you don't have it.
If you love traveling, one of my favorite YouTube channels is Yes Theory, if you've ever seen them. Have you-
Yes Theory?
Yes Theory.
I've not heard that one.
You have to
No.
check them out.
Okay.
They've got like millions of subscribers. They're
Okay.
two Swedish guys that travel the world and don't say no to anything.
Oh,
And they just
wow.
meet people and just
And do
live
stuff.
with the locals and do the most amazing, incredible stuff.
Okay. Yes Theory.
Yes Theory.
Okay. We'll
And,
check
and their
that out.
motto is, don't say no, just say
Don't say
yes.
no.
Just, and it'll work
Their
out.
motto is seek discomfort.
Yes.
Okay. So you go through your church, I assume, or is it through?
Green County Baptist Association. It's a whole bunch of different churches.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
But
So I think it's fair to say all of us are Christian
Yep.
in
Yep.
faith. And while this is not a Christian podcast, it's cool to hear that.
It is tonight.
It is tonight, yes.
That's right.
we're going to have a church service.
We're going to have church service. Who's going to lead the worship? So,
I've got communion if we want to do it.
There we go, here we go. We take it with us.
We do actually have communion things
Oh,
because
you do?
sometimes we do church online.
oh, sure. Yeah.
So-
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we did church online this morning, so we did communion with our church.
Yeah, we're not always, when you travel, you're not always where you can find a church.
Yeah.
And we asked our last host where to go to church, and they watch church on TV. And our church does a broadcast, so we can see
Right.
we can see our broadcast anytime we want. We like going to other churches because we get a flavor of.
Sure.
Yeah,
what
we
other
love
people worship.
visiting churches when we're traveling.
Oh, good. Yeah, we've had a secret want to go around and see some of the old churches in town for the architecture and for the
Beautiful.
style of worship and just the whole thing.
If you want to go and see old churches and architecture, you need to go to Europe.
Oh,
Just saying.
That's
Okay.
a bit of a stretch.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be old.
just saying.
That's a going joke
Very
with us
true.
because,
Yeah.
as you might not know, I'm a doctor of medieval history. So I went to Europe and we went around Europe, and I told Ruth about where she lived.
I know that was embarrassing when he came to England because he loves history and I did not enjoy history when I was in school.
Yeah.
So he came to my country and we were going around and he was telling me the history of my own country. But he made it interesting if
But
my
it's
teachers had done
amazing
that.
because America doesn't have more than
Oh, was it?
250, 300 years of history. So,
Sure.
you know, what you really get a wake-up call is when you walk into the church where you're going to have your what do we call it?
No, our blessing was in my church. That was
Right.
250.
But her
My
sister's
mum's
church,
church.
and her mom's church was 1,000 years old.
It was
Wow.
It had a
1,000 or more, but they didn't know exactly.
right, a threshold made out of granite that had so many people walk across it that there was a dish in it.
Yeah.
You know, and so you really, they buried 1,000 years ago. They buried people in the church at the pulpit.
Oh, really?
Well, no, that was the former
Right.
priests and
Yeah, for
stuff,
the-
but they
oh,
were
sure.
interred under the
You know,
ground.
he might have been the priest for 50 years, but he's buried. He's under the pulpit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just amazing.
But yeah, if you love history and old architecture, you really
Well-
need to try and go to Europe.
This is my embarrassing RV moment. I was in a meeting with an international group. A couple guys were from France. They're all over the place, and it was tell us something you don't know that nobody else knows about you. So I told them about I'm restoring a really old vintage trailer, 1958. The guy next to me from France says, "Well, we're restoring a house too. It was built in the 1500s."
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I guess you put me in my place.
So when you first took me to Savannah, you took me to like the oldest building or
Oldest
something, and
building
it
in
was like
Savannah.
18 something. I was like, this is the
Old?
oldest.
we're very fortunate because Savannah was not burned to the ground during the Confederate War. It was the only city in the southern trail that Sherman took to the coast that wasn't destroyed. So we technically have some of the oldest architecture in the state of Georgia.
Right.
It's all
So,
relative.
I wanted to take her and show her I like architecture.
Oh,
you
I
know.
do too.
I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I get put in my place with, yeah, that's not old. That's
Yeah.
that's just a couple years old.
That's one thing that always surprises me about America is when Americans are talking about history. And I am American now. I got my citizenship, so I had to did all my studying.
Congratulations.
I did it the
awesome.
legal way, just saying, and it costs a lot of money, but I legit.
We appreciate that.
But
Yeah.
but one of the things, American history doesn't. It kind of seems to stop like 250 years ago. It's American history is the history of the United States of America.
Right.
Yeah,
And
people
that's,
don't-
to me, it should go back further. It should be the history of the continent and what.
Right, because people don't
Because
realize.
in Europe, you go back to medieval times.
We've
and
had
everything.
Europeans
It's
here
not
since
just the last
1400.
monarch.
Yeah.
You
know,
know, so for me, history. I mean, there's modern
much
history
older,
and, but here it's just all modern history. To me, it doesn't cover any of the older stuff.
That's interesting.
It's just a contrast that I noticed.
Perspective is amazing. You
Yeah.
just get a different perspective on it. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So, well, neat. Well, tell us a little bit. I like to hear stories about how people met, and we're gonna. My hunch is that we're gonna hear a little bit more of your story, Mark. I don't know which one of you is gonna tell it. I hear both of you tell it really good.
Yeah, she'll tell it.
There's more than just how they met. It's how they got to where they met. But do you guys have how you guys came to know each other and how long you've been together and RVing? Well, you've been RVing together for a week.
Yeah, pretty much.
A week and you still
They just
love
met
each
last
other.
week.
No, I guess ultimately I got out of the Army after a 3-year enlistment back in like 1983, and I had a background in surveying, working for the military.
Let me interrupt and say thank you all for your service.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you
Hey,
so
hey.
much. Go ahead, Ken. Sorry.
So yeah, I had a background in surveying, and I had an opportunity to go to work for the city of Springfield in the Public Works Department in their engineering department.
Okay.
Very fortunate to get that opportunity, basically because of my background and experience in the military.
Okay.
And I lived in a town near where Vanessa worked, and some friends of ours got us together to play cards one night, that type of thing. And then 30 years later, so, you know, I worked for the city of Springfield for 30 years, went ahead and retired from there, and then I went up to Kansas City, Kansas,
Sure.
and worked at Wyandotte County for 10 years. So.
Okay.
But we've been together the whole time.
Really like these peaches.
Just blessed to have that
I never used
that
to
opportunity
like peaches.
to raise children together and be together, and then
sure.
get to this part of our stage of our life to get out and see the world. I've been very fortunate with my employment to travel and see some different cities, and there's some that, you know, when you're away for a week at a conference or something like that in a beautiful place, and you're standing out there looking at it and go, my wife needs to be here.
Yeah.
So we want to hit
And now
some
she
of those
can.
spots.
Yeah.
That's cool.
For sure.
Is there any particular? Some people go to see state capitals. Some people go to see
Right.
national parks. Is there anything that you guys have that you really, maybe, I don't know what to call it other than genre of, or is it just we're just gonna go travel and see stuff?
A little bit of the traveling and see some stuff, but you know, obviously I'm blessed to have some friends that live out in Oregon.
Yeah.
We want to spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah.
I've been to Tahoe many times.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a wonderful place. I'd love for her to see Tahoe.
Oh yeah.
Where's
down-
Tahoe?
Lake Tahoe.
It's in Nevada.
In Nevada.
Nevada. Okay.
Right.
On the border of California.
Yeah, it's actually California, but it's right on the border of Nevada.
Yeah, but
So
you
you're
can,
both
legally,
from Missouri?
you can legally gamble in
I don't
Tahoe.
care.
Correct. Yeah.
Half-
You're
half
from
of Tahoe.
Missouri? Both of you?
Yeah. I have a.
born there, but we.
Yeah, I was actually born in Sacramento. My parents were out there years and years ago, and so I was just a toddler when we left. I have been back a couple of
He was
times.
born in Sacramento.
Okay.
She was born.
I was born in
in-
Sacramento, but probably a few years before you.
Where were you born?
I was born.
I was born in Denier, which is
Denier.
by
very close to
Modesto.
Sacramento.
Great.
Yeah, Modesto.
Moved to Sacramento when I was one.
He was born and raised in Lodi,
Oh,
but he was
wow.
the hospital was in Sacramento.
I was
wasn't
born
it?
in Sacramento and lived in Folsom until my brother was born. So he's 2 years younger than I am. And then we moved to Lodi.
So
My
we
dad
got a
worked.
bunch of Californians here.
It seems like.
Northern Californians, you
But
always
now
tell
we
me
call
to
it the
say.
left
Yeah,
coast.
northern-
I was gonna say I'm not near as
Yes.
appreciative as what I might have been.
From what I see on the news, it's now the left coast. So.
Yeah,
And
that's
since
for
we live in
sure.
Georgia, we can say that.
That's right.
Right. So
Very nice.
yeah, it's kind of neat. We've got some. I want to take her down to Key West. Got to watch the sunset in Key West. Maybe
Oh,
do some
yeah.
fishing down there. There's other locations. I'd love to get out onto the East Coast. We have some friends that work out there, so we could spend some time out there,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania and stuff like that. I think everybody ought to get an opportunity to go to D.C. and go to the
See all the
museums
stuff.
and all that. You know, we talk about,
Yeah,
you
it's still on
know,
our
world
wish list.
history is one thing. That's our history.
Right.
And I've been blessed to be able to go there once, and I thought, gosh, I really wished I could afford to have all my children go there and see that
Yeah.
really in their teenage, young teenage years,
Right.
just to appreciate all of that.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
we weren't fortunate enough to do that, but I would like to take Vanessa there.
There's so much there to see. I mean,
There
it's
is.
an unbelievable amount of stuff to see.
that's one of our next
Just
places.
the
isn't it?
Smithsonian's alone. You could spend days going
Absolutely.
from Smithsonian to Smithsonian.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we'd love to do that.
Oh, very cool.
I did that in the 70s, but I'm sure it has been updated since I was there.
You might not like it as well, but
Yeah. Just,
So what made you get an RV then if you've never RV'd before? Did you buy or are you renting for
no,
your
we
time?
bought it.
Did you rent first to try it out or
No, not
you
at all.
just dived right
But
in?
We've been camping before.
a lot, yeah.
Tent camping or
When my kids were really little,
right.
Well, actually,
we bought an
Oh, yeah,
old
schoolies.
school bus that had been converted
Schoolies.
by a
Schoolies,
retired couple.
There you go.
It was incredible. We
The
paid
Partridge
like,
family.
Pardon?
The
Oh,
Partridge family.
absolutely, yeah.
and our
And-
kids loved it.
And we
great.
still own it today.
oh, you do.
We do. It needs to be completely redone again.
Yeah.
Not sure if we're going to do that or not.
Uh-huh.
Because we really like some of the efficiencies of our fifth wheel.
I bet.
But yeah, I mean, we've just always hunted and fished and took the kids, and they've just always had an awesome time. It was always crowded.
How many kids?
Yeah.
We have 3 altogether. Yeah.
Three? Uh-huh.
How old are they now?
Oh gosh, that's a trick question.
Oh, they're all grown up.
Oh, they're all
Yes.
grown.
They're
Yeah.
all
Okay.
grown and have
And they've all
Yeah.
got grandkids.
Yes, they all have grandkids, and even Kristen's her kids are all adults, young adults now,
Wow.
like 18 and 20, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my son, the youngest, has 3 daughters that are like 6, 4, and 3,
Yeah.
and then
Great
my
ages. Great ages.
Yeah, that's beautiful ages.
yeah, we just revolve around whatever they want us
Right.
to do.
Grandpa ages. That would have been. There you go.
That's a good enough reason to keep the schoolie.
It is. I
You
really.
can go in the fifth wheel and then
That's
they
what I'm thinking. That's what we're thinking.
That's awesome. What year is your schoolie?
It is a 70 model, 1974 school bus. It's got a
Okay.
6-cylinder, straight 6 in it.
Nice.
We've had some families stay with us in schoolies. What was that? One family with how many kids? Was it 6,
I don't know. I don't keep
7 kids in a school?
Wow.
And they homeschooled them. They were full time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think that was it
I have to
five?
trust her on memory because
I think it
don't
was
have
5
any short-term
kids.
memory at all.
5 or 6 kids. But they homeschooled them. They were full time in the
Gotcha.
schoolie. We were really impressed, and they were all impeccably behaved. I have to
Oh,
say,
nice.
yeah, they were great,
Kind of
great
have to be
guests.
when you live in
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
you got to have that
Gotta
discipline, but
And then
but
I-
they
get
were.
along.
I also need to brag on my middle daughter a little bit because she has 4 foster sons.
Oh,
Wow.
She's never been married, but she's had multiple foster children over the last 15 years probably.
that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Good
and
for her.
she's adopted 3 of them.
Wow.
and
Because those kids that some of those kids come from really tough backgrounds. So if
Tough
you can
situations.
foster,
we deal with a lot.
yeah, that's amazing.
A lot of behavioral things
Yeah.
and stuff, and they're just, some of them are challenged, some of them are not. Some of them are just left behind,
Yeah,
and
you're right.
so she is very good at that, loves doing it. It's her world.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and we try to be there for her as much as we can. Of course, for the next 6 weeks, we're not going to be,
Yeah.
because it's a little me time and Vanessa time.
And
Well, that's
actually, we're missing my daughter's birthday, my son's birthday,
Yeah.
and Christian's birthday. It's one of the ones that she adopted.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
they're all
It's,
Yeah,
bye.
but we got to see a bunch of them last night, which was awesome. So.
Oh, good.
That's great.
Even some that
She had foster.
have gone on and moved away
Mm-hmm.
came down, and Zevin brought his girlfriend down to introduce us.
Nice.
So it's great. Yeah, wonderful.
That's cool.
So are you about how many days into your 6 weeks?
Today.
Oh, day one. Awesome.
We're stop one.
Today is it.
So how
So-
many miles did you do today?
Oh, we didn't go very far. We just came from Springfield, so about 6 hours,
That's good
They didn't
morning.
go very far, just about 6 hours.
We're trying to stick to about a 6-hour run.
We can't travel more than 4 hours a day. There's
Yeah,
no way.
we
Okay.
really have a 3 hour a day maximum, 4 if we're desperate, and we don't like to do any more than 200, 250 miles.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all right. When you can.
But everyone's different.
Whatever
We
the-
got that from one of us, and it depends on your schedule, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we'll take less time coming, or more time coming back.
right.
Well, we have the dog as well, so we have a good excuse. We have to have dog stops.
That's right. That's right.
That is true.
That's right.
We do.
We're
We
gonna
do.
get the national parks on the way back.
We'll hit some national
Okay.
parks, yeah.
Good.
We want to take the northern route back, which will take us through Yellowstone and Mount Rushmore and some of that
We're
stuff.
taking the northern route to California, and then we're taking the southern route home.
Okay.
Because we're going to be gone for so long, we don't want to be in the north when it's cold.
Well, we're
Because
going
I
for
went
about
to
4
University of
months.
Iowa in the early 80s and froze my off, so We're not doing that
Georgia
anymore.
doesn't normally have that problem, does it?
No.
Freezing
Oh,
out.
last winter, oh my gosh, Georgia ground to a halt because between Christmas
Oh,
and
that's
New
right.
Year,
Right.
on the coast where we were, it did not get above freezing even during the day.
Wow.
And I mean, that is unprecedented.
Sure
and
is.
up here, I know that's nothing, but down there they don't have the infrastructure for
That's
it.
right.
They
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah.
gritters. Things are not insulated, so pipes burst. I mean,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous. and all the school buses won't drive
Yeah.
and
Right.
take the kids if
If
the
it
roads
rains-
are frozen. Oh my gosh, because
the county we live in has the most dirt roads in any county in Georgia.
Oh, wow.
So they
and
won't,
our dirt roads are not gravel.
And
they
they're-
are
they're clay.
or sand.
so they won't send the school buses out on a rainy day.
Right.
So
You
there's no
bet.
school on a rainy day either.
Wow. Get a rain. Oh, that's crazy.
So school is
Well-
365 days a year.
To
except
be
Sunday.
fair, though, we did
Okay.
learn because we live on the corner of a paved road and a dirt road. And one summer, they started trucking in literally hundreds of dump trucks of dirt. And we discovered that that was because they'd had to reroute the buses because there were some new kids going to school and the school bus was going to have to go up and down that road. So they had to fill it
Oh,
and make
okay.
it suitable for the school buses.
Yeah.
So we learned that when it's going to be routed that way, they maintain
They
the
do
road a
look
little
after it.
differently.
Yes.
They grade them once a week. So.
Yeah, it gets graded much more if it's a school bus route. But,
Mark, we had a chance to talk a little bit before, earlier this afternoon, and your story of how you met is because of an accident that has left you. You had mentioned your short-term disability or your short-term memory and your.
I'm 100% disabled. I'm very fortunate. When I had my accident in March 1st of 2008,
Okay.
I fell from 500 feet without any assistance and broke every bone in the left side of my
Hang on
body.
just
with
a second,
under a
dude.
parachute.
Repeat that.
I fell from 500 feet without any assistance.
500 feet.
So
With
I
a
hit the-
canopy
I hit
that
the
is-
ground at terminal velocity and broke everything. And
And you're here today.
it's a God thing.
He's Miracle Mark. They wrote about him in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
So,
Interesting. Okay.
but it's all because I was very angry. On March 1st of 2008, I had been divorced about a year and a half from my wife, who I'd been married to for 16 years. And she got a boyfriend at work. And So 2 marriages were damaged, ruined actually. So I decided to move away because I couldn't watch. And I moved to Atlanta, which is about 250 miles away. And while I was there, I ran into a bunch of military buddies who were like, Fort McPherson was there, which was the head of FORSCOM. They're like, what are you doing here? Because they knew what I used to do in the military. And I was like, well, I'm not a contractor for the military. I write IT programs for the government. And they're like, oh, so, and I told them I was divorced, and they were like, well, if you come join us with, military contractors like Blackwater, you don't have to pay income tax for the federal government.
If you do so many months overseas.
Only do it 30 days at a time. So I was like, well, it's 2008, 2009. Yeah, I'm going to Afghanistan.
And your divorce had just cost you a lot of money. You say the only winner in a divorce is the lawyer.
I borrowed a lot of money to get divorced because I wanted to have access to my children. I was Mr. Mom.
Right.
But Georgia's laws are written in so that men have no rights in the courtroom. They're not even allowed to speak.
Wow.
It's because of the old gold rush days.
Because back in the gold rushes of California, men would leave
The men
their
would
wives
abandon
and
the
go to
women,
California. So they wrote the laws in such a way that never got changed until 2000.
Wow.
They wrote the laws in such a way that men were punished for leaving their wives.
Even if the...
So 60% of my income had to go to my ex because I had 2 children. And I was very unhappy. So the goal was, go to Afghanistan for 30 days and don't pay income taxes. Well, shucks. 25% of your income is federal taxes.
You bet.
So I'll go to Afghanistan for 30 days at a time and come back to my real job. That's not
And you had a
problem.
bit of an attitude about life then that you didn't really care about it. So
Yeah. So I
But
was
we
pretty
were-
angry. So I went to recertify all my. I can fly helicopters. I can scuba dive. I can skydive. I do lots of things. So I was recertifying my licenses, and I was on my last certification dive for skydiving. My parachute collapsed at 500 feet, just off target, and I don't remember any of this. It's all by what I've been told. But
you want me to tell her?
yeah, all that was telling.
Oh,
me.
we didn't know each other then. We met after the accident. But it was just one miracle after another because there was one of the skydivers was a paramedic. So when he had his accident, basically he was doing a halo jump. So high altitude, low opening, he was free fall. Everything was on target. It was great. His canopy opened, fully deployed, on target to land. And then at about 500 feet, his canopy collapsed. It inverted. And they've investigated. They think it was like some sort of wind shear because it was the 1st of March. So it was winter and it was up in the mountains and he was diving at dusk. So they think it was a wind shear that collapsed his canopy and he streamered in and he actually bounced. They had it on video.
Yeah.
So because his son, who was 8 at the time, was learning to use his dad's high-speed digital camera and was photographing it all, and they used that footage for the inquiry afterwards. Fortunately, he was just at the age that he didn't actually realise that what he was watching isn't what was supposed to happen. And the guys at the drop zone, if you've ever, I used to skydive in England, so that's one of the how we got talking. But drop zones are a culture, and everyone there just looked after his kids, and I've met quite a few of them since. But one of the jumpers was a paramedic, so he kept him alive and worked on him until the air ambulance arrived, and the air ambulance arrived that happened to be the brand new jet helicopter. So not only was it faster because it was a jet helicopter, but because it was the brand new fancy jet helicopter, there were also a couple of doctors out joyriding on it to check it out because it was the new one.
Oh my goodness.
So this is a Saturday night, and it took him to Grady Memorial in Atlanta. So his heart stopped a couple of times on the way, but they kept him going. When he arrived, the chief of surgery from Morehouse Medical was at the emergency room, took his case, and he is an amazing guy. I met him, and his name is I can't remember, and I'm asking you. Your memory's useless.
You're asking the wrong guy.
I know. I'm asking Mr. No Memory.
He's a great doctor. He's the doctor who's in charge of vitamin D research for the United States of
He
America.
does all sorts. Anyway, I'll say. So they triaged him, and triage is assessing your injuries. I knew that, but I never knew that they allocate a percentage. So they'll like give each injury a bit of a percentage, and they reckon 100% you're going to die of your injuries. Well, they stopped counting at 300 with him.
300%.
Yeah, he had 17 separate life-threatening injuries, any which one they said could have killed him. So basically, to summarize, when you learn skydiving, you learn that roll to absorb, and he did a perfect roll and broke everything on the left side, and they said that that's probably actually what saved him. So his impact point was his left heel, shattered the fat pad, that's gone, never be there again, permanent callus that's always been going, bashed his knees together and got bone things, and then he broke the ball off his femur, shattered his pelvis, ruptured his diaphragm, all his internal organs went up, crushed his heart, traumatic brain injury, but no spinal injury. I mean, which was a miracle.
Yeah.
But they said he'd never walk again, and he was in a coma for 61 days, and then he developed double respiratory pneumonia in the coma, and they said that was going to kill him. But his consultant was also a consultant for the CDC, so because he was non-responsive to all the antibiotics, everything they tried, so he said, okay, I'm going to try this new experimental one. He asked for permission but used it, and then the permission was denied, but he'd already used it, and within 48 hours it had worked, and he came round. So he's like,
wow.
you know, it was just a God thing all the way along, and I mean, it was amazing, and I just feel so privileged, you know, and our little joke has been that we literally fell for each other because we both met because of falls. I mean, obviously his was this massive traumatic thing, but I was back in England and I wasn't a Christian at the time, so I was living with a guy. We'd been together for 10 years. When I finally opened my eyes and realised that it was not a healthy relationship at all, it was emotionally and verbally abusive. So I decided to get out of it, and that happened because I was a sports nut. I played for 3 different ice hockey teams, rec teams. So I trained like 3 or 4 different times a week, and I also played rounders, which is like softball. So
you worked full time.
And I worked full time, yeah. But I love sports, so I fell and twisted my ankle, and they said I should have broken it. I'd have been better off because I tore all the ligaments, and I was off it for 9 months. So all my sports that was like everything I did, I couldn't do. So I would come home from work and just contemplate life, which is when I opened my eyes and realised that I was in an unhealthy relationship. And I was also coming home and I was bored, so I was playing games on Facebook, and that's how we met. So his military friends had put him on Facebook so that they could all keep up with his recovery. And
I didn't know what Facebook was.
His cognitive rehab, they told him to go on Facebook and play repetitive games because his insurance money was rapidly running out. So they said, here, do this and play it and come back and tell me what you've learnt from it. So he was in America on Facebook playing these games as part of his cognitive rehab. I was in England having fallen and hurt myself, hence our little fallen for each other joke, and playing games, and we overlapped. He ended up sending me a friend request because he said that I was beating him all the time.
She killed me every day.
Apparently.
So I read the direction for the game and it said your friends can't kill you. So I sent her a friend request because I didn't want her to kill me anymore.
So, I mean, with Facebook, we don't play the games or anything on Facebook anymore, but I mean, we hardly use it, but you can have your friends in different groups. Like, you can have, like, all your church friends, and I had all my ice hockey friends and my rounders friends and, like, swimming, and I had a list called gamers because all the people I played games with, you need to be friends because you have to send each other lives and energy and stuff.
Sure.
But they're complete strangers. You don't know them from Adam, so I had it set so they couldn't see anything personal. Well, apparently, when he sent me a friend request, I accidentally put him in family instead of gamers because F and G were right next to each other. And that's where we look back now and say it was the hand of God.
Yeah.
But so he ended up commenting on a photograph, and I got this note that this guy's commented on a photograph, and I'm like, I don't recognize that name. Who's he? How can he see that photograph?
Her profile picture was of
I was
riding a
mountain biking in Wales.
So I lived in
He
North
thought
Georgia.
I was in Alp.
So I said, "Is this such and such a bike trail in North Georgia that I used to ride?"
And I'm like,
He goes, "No, it's Wales."
I'm in Wales. Who are you? So anyway, I looked at his profile, saw the skydiving. I used to skydive for fun because I was into extreme sports. I mean, he did it for the military and got paid. I just did it for fun, so I don't know who's crazier. But anyway, we got talking about skydiving. And I guess we just got talking about skydiving, the accident, and then we just became best friends. We spent hours talking to each other online. And
So
eventually,
we were never going to meet in face
yeah,
to
I mean, he
face.
was in America, I was in England. There was the entire Atlantic Ocean. We'd both been through traumatic separations, so we had that in common, and we were just talking, and we became best friends. And one thing we do share with people is that if you have friends, relatives, children, anybody who is in an online relationship, never ever underestimate the strength and power of an online relationship, because we can genuinely tell you that we fell in love online before we ever met in person.
There's
I mean,
none of
it
none of
is
the
real.
boy-girl stuff. It's just friendship because you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk.
There's no physical to get in the way. We just talked. I mean, we weren't, neither of us were looking for romance either. It wasn't a dating site. We just became best friends, and he invited me over and proposed, and we got married, and I moved to America, and it's like 16 years later, and everyone thought we were crazy because we hadn't known each other that long when we got
Less than
married.
6 months.
Have you submitted this script to Hallmark yet?
Yeah.
They need a new plot.
But it's part of our testimony, and I mean, it is a God story. We give
That's
God
amazing.
all the credit. And
My comments are simple. Never tell God what you will or won't do, because He's sitting up there going,
because you totally sworn off women, you
"Because I
said.
didn't date. I didn't want to date. I didn't want any part of that. I got burned bad, and I didn't want to get burned ever again." And but she was in England. She was never coming to America, and I was never going to England. She had a full-time job. I had a real life. I thought I was going to be able to return to my job. In order to keep you mentally healthy, they lie to you like crazy. Oh, you'll be fine in 6 weeks. You'll be back in your job. So I was under the full belief that I would be back running my company in 6 weeks.
But God works in amazing ways, and I mean, I have been truly blessed because I got to travel a lot as a child. So, like, I lived in Brazil for a year, and we lived in India for a few months, and I've been all over. That was with my dad's job, and I mean, I traveled all over, and we've been through America, and I worked for British Aerospace that became BAE Systems, which is like the military equivalent of Gulfstream.
Okay.
Everybody knows Gulfstream in Savannah. So, and then I worked for Westinghouse Nuclear, which is an American company. But we always had a lot of Americans coming in, and Americans were always, in our perspective then, these larger-than-life people who came in and were talking on their phones up and down the corridor, and everybody knew when the Americans were in. And I wanted to emigrate, but I always said, but I'm never going to emigrate to America. I don't like America. And that's where God laughs at you. It's like I wanted to go anywhere, but not America. And then I worked for Westinghouse, and I came over to Pittsburgh on a couple of business trips. And I have to say that was God, like, preparing me, because that completely changed my perspective, because I had a great time. I met wonderful people, and I was like, oh, my perspective of America was totally wrong. This is real nice. And then I met him, and then I'm like, oh, now I've met an American. Okay. And it's like, now I am an American.
Here you are.
So, and I love it. And, so
That's
God has a
cool.
plan, definitely.
Yeah.
What I recognize in my life, I've been through a lot of stuff, okay? I recognize that in every case where life could have really dealt me some ugly cards, God's been there. Whether or not I asked. And it's made all the difference in the world, because things could be a lot uglier. And for some people, they are.
Yeah.
But for some people, it takes that ugliness to finally come to recognition that they're not in charge of their life.
Yeah.
Right.
And nobody's in charge of their own life.
You're right.
You're here by the grace of God, and enjoy it.
I've often thought about I don't know what the numeric possibilities of us being here, if you could do it in a math equation, but there were a lot of people ahead of us that had to meet, get to know each other, have children, and I mean the chances have to be so minute that we're even here when you think about throughout history.
Yeah.
When you think
So
about it,
there's a
America
reason
has
we're here.
and I don't mean to be political, and I'm not saying anything about people who make this choice, but America has the largest abortion rate in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Think about all the children that never had a chance to live life.
Mm.
You know, back in Bible times, you know, you read in the Bible in the Old Testament about people sacrificing their children to demons
Yeah.
or to false gods. What's being done today?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not, it's not a political point of view. It's simply those kids never have a chance.
Right.
And when I got married to my previous wife, we didn't think we could have kids. I had to go through, I had some military stuff mess me up good.
Mm.
And so I had to go through some surgeries to have children. But our agreement was we probably can't have kids. I will say right now that children totally changed my life.
Mm.
I am the man I am today because I had a son and a daughter.
Yeah.
And I would have never been who I am today without them.
Mm.
So
And
kids
all
make
the
a big
people
difference.
that can't have kids that want them.
Oh, and think about all the people who want to adopt
Yeah.
and can't because there's nothing out there to adopt. They have to go to China and Russia to get kids.
And it brought a whole new dimension to my life. Because that was the no-brainer. When we married, it was like, well, I'll come to America because he had children here.
Yeah.
They were like 8 and 5 then, I think, when we got married or something. So, you know, it was, we never even had to discuss who'd move where.
Mm-hmm.
And I just put my house up for rent and then a few years later sold it. And so it was just fantastic. And that's part of the reason we're doing this trip, because both of his kids both
Just
got married
this
this year. His son got
Awesome.
married
Congrats.
in March and his daughter just got married at the end of June.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've wanted to do this trip for a long time, haven't we? But logistically we couldn't,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like you can't just up and leave the house. We've got the chickens, the cats, and
Yeah.
you know, and everything. So I mean, the dog, yes, she comes with us, and with the Iowa trip, Laura came, and we had different friends coming, but this one we're planning to be away for 4 months. And that's too long to, you know, kind of expect your friends to pop in every day, really.
You can't leave a farm
Yes.
for 4 months and expect it to survive. For
Yeah.
long. So
So his daughter was getting married, and they were very good. They're both really strong Christians. They'd not lived together. So his rent was up a few months ago. He moved back in with his mum and dad.
Mm-hmm.
Her rent was up at the end of June when they got married. So I had this brainwave, didn't I? I said, hey,
Maybe
we want to
we'll
do
do
this
that.
trip. Why don't we offer them our place rent-free so they can
Nice.
have a few months at the beginning of their marriage to house hunt and not pay rent?
That's awesome.
And we can travel. So it just worked out perfectly. So that's what they're doing. They're looking after the house for us while they're house hunting. So
Nice.
we left the day before my birthday, and then our wedding anniversary is the 27th of November, which is actually Thanksgiving Day this year.
Oh,
And we've
cool.
said we'll be back about Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
So we're like going from my birthday to Thanksgiving-ish.
Uh-huh.
Ish.
We've promised them 4 months. We've said if we end up coming back early, we'll live in the camper. You've got the house to yourselves for 4 months. And if you haven't found anywhere to live, because they're upstairs, we don't use
We
the
have a
upstairs.
two-story
So,
house, so-
you know, we said you can stay up there as long as you need. We don't mind. But, you know, we'll probably move back in for winter. And we may be away longer. We don't know. We haven't planned this. This trip was South Dakota, which is where his family are from, to go and see
both my
family.
parents were born and raised in California.
And then California to go to Lodi, which is where he was born. So we're going to see South Dakota and Lodi, and whatever we want to do, and wherever the road takes us and the Lord takes us in between. We've not planned. Because one thing we have learned is the more you plan, the more it doesn't
trash.
go according to plan, and the
How
more
long
stressed
ago
you are.
did you book to stay here?
Oh, yesterday.
Yesterday, and how long ago did you book?
Oh, just less than a week.
Less than a week. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. We get a lot of, not a lot, but we get a handful of people that book way out in advance. They hardly ever make it. There's always
That's our experience. The further ahead somebody books, the more likely they are to
We found
cancel.
the
I mean,
people
it was-
that book more than 30 days in advance.
Yeah, the
usually
vast
don't
majority
show
of
up.
ours
Yeah.
book 2 or 3 days in advance. The people that stay
Yeah.
with us.
Well,
Yeah.
we were actually taking the northern route to start off with.
Correct.
And then Brian and Whitney said, "Oh, can you come out earlier?"
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Because
so we'll do that.
he does elk hunting and
Okay.
stuff, and September
Oh.
gets
Oh,
really
yeah, the
busy.
fall of the time.
Plus,
to
he has
hunt.
family. He's got his parents' they're there right now, leaving tomorrow, I think. So they have 2 young children. So and they both work. So we don't have the luxury of just when we get there we'll work it out.
Yeah.
Because if we
yeah.
just waited a few more weeks, which we talked about,
Mhm.
then they're going to be really busy and we're not going to get to spend much time. Plus, the weather will start to change on us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're kind of on a schedule to get there at a
To
certain
get there,
time.
but after we've been there for a while and hang out and do all that, coming back, I don't know when we'll come back.
Yeah,
Well, for
Or
me,
which
this is all
direct-
second and third cousins,
yeah.
fourth and fifth cousins. So
It is
people
a
I haven't
different
seen in
style
30
of
years.
traveling though.
Yeah.
Because when we had to go up to Michigan when your mom was
Passed
sick,
away.
I mean, that was like, get as many miles in every day as we can. We were on a mission to get up
Yes.
there, and it was one night, one night.
Yes.
Whereas now, we're going to South Dakota. We want to get there, but we don't have a date we have to be there for. So, like, we're here for 2 nights, so we can have a full day. And that's one of the things on this trip. We've said that we really want to stay at least 2 nights everywhere, so you
And I
get a
wanna
full
see
day.
what's local.
Good.
So like tomorrow, we're
Correct.
going to go.
There's
I
a
didn't know
cave.
that Nebraska had caves. We're going to see the Robbers Cave tomorrow.
Did they get back with you?
Yeah, yeah. I got
they
it.
did?
So Monday at noon, we're going to see the Robbers Cave.
cool.
And that's it. They say book online, book in advance.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, well, good. We can actually go do something now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we're-
that's great. Yeah. Yeah, I had no idea. I grew up in Lincoln, had no idea until a couple of years ago we had such a thing. So
Have you been?
I have not been there. No.
Apparently, it's the largest tourist attraction in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Really? Well, that sort of doesn't surprise. Well,
What
besides
county are we in?
besides the football stadium, Lancaster.
We're still in Lancaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm from Lancashire.
Oh.
In
okay.
England. I'm
Oh,
from the
wow.
northwest Lancashire, and the county town of Lancashire is Lancaster.
Oh, okay.
So-
Interesting.
I'm a Lancashire lass.
Well, I want to rewind just a little bit. And Vanessa, you talked about your mission trips. What is one memorable experience on one of your mission trips that you'll just never forget? I know there's probably a million of
Oh,
them, but if
there's
you
a
could
lot
boil it
of them.
down to
How many
just
have you
one.
been on?
9.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Wow.
This is the
She had to
first year.
Do you both go?
Skip COVID. No, I was always working. So I just retired in March.
So have you been on
So-
any yet?
Not yet.
No, he doesn't do the heat well. We don't have air conditioning.
That's true.
Okay. No, that's fair. Yeah.
But I guess if I was going to pick one that just stood out the most was we went to the Wichal Mountains. And if you've never been above, when it thunders and lightnings and storms, you're in it.
Mm.
You're not above it. And you can watch it rain below you. Down
Oh,
the
you're
mountains.
kidding.
Yeah.
What was your elevation? You know?
I'm not sure.
8,000?
Yeah, it wasn't as high as I
It's
expected because
7,500, 8,000 feet, isn't it?
I've been in, like Colorado and stuff,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
and
It wasn't
14ers.
quite as bad as
it
Colorado.
was not
or
as high.
close.
But when the fog rolls in or whatever and the storms roll in, it's just below the peaks.
Mm-hmm.
And they're up there looking down on all of it, you
Yeah.
know, so.
Yeah.
But people are so grateful
Yeah.
for you helping them.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they are happy and they have nothing.
Yeah.
But we do medical, so we
Okay.
do blood pressure, glucose. We had a dentist up there
Uh-huh.
that pulled teeth and did all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wow.
So, and we fed them, so they would line up to get food. But the first day we were there,
Uh-huh.
the counselor of the tribe brought a little boy, probably 6, 7.
Uh-huh.
And he said, this boy's blind. He can't see. So he set him down by Judith, which is one of our leaders.
Uh-huh.
And we have the Plan of Salvation bracelets
Okay.
that we tell the Plan of Salvation to
Sure,
the
I've
children.
seen those, yeah.
And she would ask him what color. And he told her every one of the colors
Oh, wow.
of that bracelet. And so she went over and talked to him, and she said, this little boy can see. So what has changed in his life?
Mm-hmm.
And the counselor said that both of his parents had got killed, and he was there.
Oh.
So the trauma had made him shut down,
Yeah.
but it had nothing to do with him not being able to see.
Wow.
And they were not doing anything with him, just setting him down and leaving him kind of to do his own
'cause he
thing,
shut down.
instead of trying to help him get through it.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Now I don't know the beads. What's the story of those?
the black is that we are all sinners. We are born into sin. And the red is the blood of Jesus Christ that died on the cross for us. And the white one is we are pure after we become saved.
Yeah.
And the blue one is for baptism.
Right.
And the green one is for the growth that you do after you become saved. And the yellow one, which is heaven, or Christ.
Wow. That's really
So
cool. I've
we-
never seen that before.
We have a Spanish, because all of us can't speak Spanish.
Right.
Yeah.
Go. I've got a little bit, but not enough. But we have a pamphlet that tells them in Spanish.
Right.
So that when we're trying to show them, we can actually point to them
Yeah.
and let them read what it is.
So I'm guessing you take a load of those beads and you make the bracelets with them all.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have a whole bunch of them. We take Bibles, we take books, we take our testimonies,
Yeah.
and we do drama. So we go out there and street canvas
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and just go out and spread the gospel to the...
So are you in the medical profession? Or
You stole my question. I was going to ask you.
Sorry.
No, I'm glad you did.
I've
No.
been to medical office, but I have been doing the medical with them ever since I started.
So you're not like a physician yourself, but you're
I'm not.
just part of the
You do the medical missions.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
and we do
awesome.
glasses for them, reading glasses.
But it takes people to facilitate all
Yeah.
this stuff, too.
Yes. And
Oh,
you guys
absolutely.
have worked with Samaritans. Some
Samaritan's
friends
Purse,
here. Have,
yeah.
Samaritan's Purse, yeah. Some friends of ours here have worked with Samaritan's Purse. Probably know them. But I doubt if you know them.
I doubt
There's
it,
a lot of volunteers. so.
Lots of people do it.
But anyway, no, that's really neat. That's really neat. So the life change that you bring for people and the way they, I like what you said about how much they appreciate it even though they have nothing. And
Yes.
you were saying earlier about how blessed we are in this country. We have
Oh,
so
gosh,
much,
yeah.
and it's so true.
That's why I said watch Yes Theory. Look them up on YouTube.
Okay, we'll do
So,
that.
We also do soccer tournaments.
Oh, cool.
Gary has a soccer ball
Mm-hmm.
with the Plan of Salvation on it, and it is an awesome tool.
yeah.
And the soccer, we have a tournament where we give out trophies for the soccer team.
And just to clarify it for you YouTube users, in the rest of the world, soccer's called football. But in
For the
America,
international viewers,
we have,
it's real
we have
football.
a pigskin that we call American football, but the rest of the world doesn't understand
Go
it.
Chiefs.
That's right.
Because the foot never touches the ball except like 3 times in the game. So,
Yes, thank you. From the English woman here who really struggles to say soccer. It's football.
Oh, love it.
But our church does a mission as well, don't they, on a soccer mission? And I can recommend another show on, I can't remember whether it's on Netflix or Amazon, but it's called This Is Football. And it's about soccer, a documentary. And I tell you, I get goosebumps just thinking about the first episode is, I just try and look it up. I mean, it's about forgiveness after the Rwanda massacres and how both sides came together and played on the same team soccer. Because For the rest of the world, soccer's like, it's in your blood. I mean, it's part of your culture. You know, the same way American football is here.
Correct.
I mean, and it's just, it breaks down barriers, and it helps if you really understand that to go on a soccer mission. So any of our guys at our church that are going on the soccer mission, I beg them to watch that documentary. Just watch that first episode on Rwanda, and it will just give you such a perspective. I mean, if anybody is ever struggling spiritually with forgiveness, watch that one episode, and I mean, it'll just blow your mind. Really.
Yeah, we just had some speakers at our church that were, she was I don't know the story well enough, but she was trying to escape. I think she was the Hutus and the Tutsis.
The Hutu.
I think she was a Tutsi, and they were trying to kill her, and she ended up, they are now good friends with the guy that was trying to kill her.
There's a lot of that, which is amazing.
with
It's
forgiveness,
incredible.
yeah.
Incredible.
Well, what's amazing is all the religions of the world are not like Christianity. Christianity teaches you that there's hope, and that there is hope for a reason. All the other religions of the world tell you what you can't do. It's not about what hope there is in the future. It's about what you must do to be worthy.
Right.
And Christianity is not about what you must do. Grace is a gift.
Yeah.
It's a religion of love. Well,
You
is.
can be a mass murderer, and on the day you die, change your life.
It's the
and
gift
okay.
of God. You just have to
Yeah.
accept it. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's hope just in that conversation right there. I'm not going to be judged by another man. I'm going to be judged by God.
And I'm so thankful I'm not the judge.
yeah.
So thankful. Well, we probably better wrap this up. I could go on for another couple hours, but I think the chairs are getting hard. But if you guys could impart
Yeah,
a
I
little
brought the
bit
comfy chair.
Yeah,
I can carry on.
you're
No,
in great shape. If you guys could, just with parting thoughts, obviously you've not RV'd a long time, but if there's something, a little bit of wisdom you could impart in the RVing side of things, and Mark and not Vanessa, but Ruth, if you have something you could impart, a little RV wisdom, maybe a pro tip or anything, or
I got plenty.
yeah, we'll limit it like we did the bees, right?
Good deal.
I can give our most important lesson learned that we found accidentally.
Yeah.
2 axles.
2 axles.
Oh, goodness.
Got to have 4 tires.
Yeah, because I told you we were looking for something small,
Yeah.
and that's what we found, and it has 2 axles. But when we went on our road trip in Michigan, we had 3 separate blowouts on that trip on the trailer. Every
Goodness
time I was
gracious.
driving, 2 of the 3 were on the interstate, and nothing to do with my driving. You've been driving not long previous and gone off the road. Anyway, but yeah, having that second axle is an absolute savior. You do not want to blow out on a single axle, because I
That's
mean the
true.
entire
You
tire was
you
just
will
gone.
lose the entire camper, because what
Yeah.
happens is the camper drops 6 inches
Uh-huh.
and begins to sway. It doesn't matter what sway bars you got.
Yeah, we
You
have
single
sway
axle and
bars,
One
but
tire, that trailer's going to sway, and if you can't stop the jackknife,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
going to lose it.
scary.
Our last guests, they under tightened the axles. The one side was perfectly tightened correctly, and it was double axle. The other side, they must have had 2 techs or something. I don't know what the case was. But anyway, just as he was about to take his exit that he was planning on taking, one of the tires rolled off and shot across the road. And the other, when he looked at it, only had 2 lug nuts left.
oh my god!
And it was that close. And anyway,
Wow.
yeah, we could go on, but
Well, there's,
it'll be in the video when it comes
they're
out.
just amazing. If you want to do a search in Google, search single axle mobile home blowouts.
Oh,
There's
Interesting.
thousands of them.
Yeah.
And now truck drivers have cameras on their dashboards, and
You
so
bet.
many
Right.
truck
Yeah.
drivers have filmed
Yeah.
total. I mean, think about it. It's not like a $1,000 investment. It's not
Yeah.
like buying a tent.
that's
You know,
right.
you made
Yeah.
a major investment. If you lose it and your insurance company says, "Oh, I'm sorry, it was a year old. It was only worth 50% of what you say it's worth,"
Yeah,
because that's insurance job
that's
to
right.
steal all your money.
Pretty
So
much.
yeah, for us it was more good luck that we got 2 axles. But if we ever replace that one, we'll definitely have
Yeah.
2 axles again.
Okay.
And it increases the stability even with sway bars. So
Sure.
it's, yeah,
Okay.
definite. Because you guys are all from here up north. And when we were in Michigan, they joked with us and said that you only have 2 seasons, winter and road repair.
Yes.
Yeah,
You're
well,
right, yeah.
well, unfortunately, Mark's mum passed away right at the end of March.
Mm.
So when we went up to Michigan, and that's when we had the 3 blowouts on
We
that
got
trip.
to come to road
we
repair.
we were after winter, but before road repair, and oh my gosh, the highways were shocking.
Yes. Yeah.
So, what about you guys? What have you learnt already?
I guess probably the first thing that I would say is if you think it won't move, it will. So you have to tie everything down inside the camper.
Yeah.
So you'll have your own big bin that has double-sided tape, all the scotch tapes, all the stick and licks and all that stuff, and everything has to be tied down because it will move.
Yeah.
Even if you think it won't move.
And those safety latches that come with cabinets aren't safe, and they don't really work.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
just invested in the child locks. You know, the
okay.
child catches for the cabinets that kept
There
popping
you
open.
go.
We put those child catches on them.
There you go. Another pro tip. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
For sure.
We found the ones that, I don't know, I've not had child locks before, they might all do this, but they have a twist on them
Uh-huh.
so that they're set to lock or not lock, turn them on and off. They might all
okay.
do that, I don't know.
They don't.
I don't know.
Some
Yeah.
of them you guys open and take your finger.
Yeah, you gotta kind
Yeah,
of.
these,
Yeah.
these they go in and lock, but the thing that goes in, you can twist it so that it either catches or doesn't, so you can turn it off,
That's
basically.
right.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, painter's tape. You know, use lots of painter's tape to hold
Yeah.
everything in place.
Because it doesn't lose.
Oh, we had
sticky
those
forever.
guys when we were in Columbus, Georgia. We stayed with that couple. They recommended this tape. You know when you get a new credit card in the mail and it's got that sticky stuff on the back?
Oh, yeah.
The
You
little
can
rubbery
buy
glue.
that in a
Yeah,
roll.
rolls
Oh, you
around.
can.
And
Okay.
and it's great, and they
It's
used
dumb.
it for like they
Okay.
had all their photographs, and they'd have them in the little plastic frames, and they had photos all over their camper,
Okay.
and they were all put up with that stuff because it doesn't ruin anything.
Nice.
What do you want, darling? Do you want a drink?
He's done with this conversation.
I think she wants a drink. Let me just grab her water.
Oh, sure.
The best thing is, look, we have hosted over 100 people, and we have met some wonderful people.
Is this what you want,
And
darling?
it's times like this where you just get to sit and talk and meet them,
Yeah.
and they bring the world to you.
Yeah.
Even if
You're right.
you can't get out and travel. But when you go out and travel and you stay with somebody, talk to them. You know,
Oh, good.
good golly, because if you don't, life is about the people you meet and the relationships you form. It's not about what you spend. It's not about what you earn. It's not about what you have. Life is about people.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't make those efforts to make those relationships, you're wasting your time.
So the interesting thing is we've had, since I've been doing this, we've had 2 business owners that own their own business and do this kind of thing and are probably, they have products that they would like to sell. And I couldn't get either of them to do this conversation on the recording, and I thought, wait, huh? Don't you really have something to do? Now, granted, we're very small. I mean, we don't have a huge following. Hope to get it up, so like and subscribe. But it is small. But I fully anticipate that you guys will be doing this before too long. You guys
I
will be-
have a YouTube channel, but mostly
He doesn't
it's
use
just
it.
personal. So
He's
I
not
don't-
put any.
Look, all the stuff on my YouTube channel is the links to other people's videos.
Yeah, you just use it to save other people's stuff.
Stuff
Yeah.
I want to remember, like,
Oh, sure.
how do I prevent my solar panels from blowing off in the windstorm?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going to save that video because it'll happen to me. Sure will.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we
So-
use YouTube for watching lots of stuff. Weather
We-
channels.
yeah.
There's some
We-
great weather
we
channels
save
for when you're
stuff.
traveling.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff. The biggest bit of advice I would give, that I did with beekeepers because I taught beginners, and when you are a beginner at anything,
Mm-hmm.
it can be so overwhelming because there is so much information out there,
Right.
and everybody wants to be helpful and give you advice.
Mm-hmm.
You've just got to enjoy it and do what works for you, because
Yeah.
you can ask advice on one thing and you'll get 10 different answers because they will give you their best way of doing it and theirs. And there isn't always a right and wrong. You've
Right.
just got to pick
Just
what
different.
works for you and just try it and enjoy it. And if it doesn't work, learn from it.
Yeah. Find
That's
your-
what I'd say.
find your
Find
way
your
to do
own
it.
way.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I'm like him. The people you meet, the one we stayed at in Iowa, Ames, Iowa, they come up and wanted to know if we wanted some rhubarb tart.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So they invited us into their home, and we sat and talked about mission trips and
Uh-huh.
the mission trips that she'd been on, and
Nice.
they're retired postal workers.
Uh-huh.
So you got to meet them and talk to them, and
Yeah.
like he said, and on the way back, we stopped at their house again. And they still make rhubarb.
Yeah,
We
we've
have
had a
met
few people
wonderful
that
people
have
Yeah.
stayed more than one
hosting
time.
and staying. And yeah, we've had a lot of repeat guests.
We live off the I-95 corridor, so what we see is
I-95,
snowbirds.
I-16. Yeah, we get a lot of
We
snowbirds.
see people that go to Florida
Oh,
for the
yeah.
winter and
Yeah.
go to New York for the summer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so they'll stay with us on the way down, on
That's
the way
great.
back.
That is great.
And we had a woman that was setting off on her big trip and then decided to go from Florida, and she came and stayed with us as her first stop, and she ended up staying with us for a little over a week. She was so cool. We got on great with us, and she wanted to sort all her camper out because she'd never done it before. And then she ended up going back to Florida, and she's trying to get ready to set off again. And she came and did like one of our day mission trips at church with us, didn't she?
Oh, cool.
She was, yeah, it's really great.
I love
We've
it.
just had all sorts.
You'll meet all sorts of people.
Yep.
and
That can be a whole
that's the
different
be-
story.
That's the best part of this.
So would you rather be a boondocker or a boondocker host? If you had no choice, you could do one or the other.
Oh, I'd be a host.
Yeah, we'd host.
Be a host?
Yeah, I like.
Yeah, it's
I won't
just
say I'm a homebody, but I live on a farm. You know, I
Yeah.
can find enough work to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
we,
All
are
right.
you getting bored? You've had enough. You're telling me.
Well, we better call
Yeah,
this a
Dusty's
wrap then.
Dusty's calling
He
it.
has called
Yeah.
the meeting.
Dusty has called me. Well, thank you guys. I sure appreciate you taking part of this. And I am behind on editing, but I'll get it up as fast as I can, and I'll let you know. So you can take a look, share it with all your friends, and get them to like and subscribe.
Right.
And yeah,
Like and subscribe.
you're-
Let's all do it.
all
Like
right.
and
Like and
subscribe.
subscribe.
There we go.